The group cleanup feature in the asset working papers. In this video, we will be explaining the purpose of the group cleanup feature in the three asset working papers, CA and CB, the property, plant and equipment working papers, and IA, the intangible assets working paper. The main purpose of this feature is to remove excessive, blank, unused lines from these working papers, which significantly slow down calculations, as well as increase the time taken to update, reload, or save the documents. We will see how using this feature can also prevent a warning message appearing when updating the working papers from the Resource Center, if they contain additional lines. There are three ways this feature can be applied in these working papers. If the working papers currently used in your files do not have this feature available, we will see how it can be added. This message is displayed when asset groups in the working papers being updated from the Resource Center contain more lines than what are available in the Resource Center module. The working papers are updated from the Resource Center on a line-by-line basis. So if an asset group in your working paper contains more lines than the same asset group in the Resource Center, the additional lines will be lost on update, unless the lines specified in this message are first added to the Resource Center module. The diagnostic is triggered regardless of the content in these lines, so many of them could simply be blank or unused. The group cleanup feature helps reduce the number of blank, unused lines in the working paper, which prevents blank lines being included when you are informed that additional lines are required before updating. In these three working papers, the default number of lines in each asset group is 10. In this example of the CA working paper, we are only using 2 of the default 10 lines in the first group, buildings. So there are 8 unused blank lines in this group. But in the second group, automotive, we are using 15, which is 5 more than the default of 10. And in the third group, equipment, we have 25 lines, even though only 4 lines are being used. The options for the group cleanup feature are in the document settings area. To access the document settings area, click on this icon. There are 3 ways the group cleanup feature can be applied. The first way is to set the working paper to automatically apply this feature each time it's updated from the Resource Center. The second way is to apply the feature to the working paper while you have it open, without updating it from the Resource Center. And the third way it can be applied is to clean up each asset group in the working paper individually. To set the working paper so that the feature is applied on each update, the first method, set this option to yes, then indicate what you want the new minimum number of lines in each group to be, and save the working paper. The next time it's updated, the group cleanup feature will be applied and the default number of lines will be switched to whatever you specified. To apply the cleanup feature to the entire working paper without updating it, the second method, indicate what you want the new minimum number of lines in each group to be and click Cleanup Active Groups. Here I've set the new default minimum to 5, so then I'll click the Cleanup Active Groups button. Now we see that Group 1, Buildings, which contained 10 lines earlier, but only 2 used lines, now contains the new minimum of 5. It still contains the 2 used lines, but now only 3 unused, a total of 5. If you have multiple groups containing a large number of blank lines, this will drastically reduce the number of blank lines in the working paper, and therefore reduce the time required to update, because the blank lines are no longer involved in the update process. Now we'll try the third way, applying the group cleanup function on a single group, using group 3. This time we'll enter 5 as the new minimum required. Save the working paper, and then jump to group 3, equipment, using the document map to the left. To apply the cleanup feature to an individual group, group 3, right-click on this Express button to the right of the asset group name. and select Group Cleanup. Here we see the number of lines has been reduced to 5. Because we only have 4 used lines in the group, we now have a single blank line. 2 things to remember when using this feature. Number 1, when using the Cleanup Active Groups button to apply the function to the entire working paper, it's only applied to the active groups, the groups that are in use. In other words, the groups that have this folder icon open. So, using Group 6 here as an example, if we ran the cleanup function while Group 6 is closed, with this icon closed, and then opened Group 6, the number of lines would still be the same as it was before we specified the default. In this case, we specified 5, but Group 6, after being opened, still contains the old default of 10. The second point to remember is, this cleanup function removes the unused lines from the asset groups in the client files, without removing any of the used lines. So as long as the minimum number of lines available in each asset group in the Resource Center modules equals the number of lines used in your client files, this message instructing you to add lines to the Resource Center modules should no longer appear, and the update process may be a little quicker. If the working papers you are currently using do not include this feature, please ask your Jazzet administrator to check if the modules in the Resource Center do. If not, they can be updated either as part of a full Resource Center update, or they can be downloaded individually from the Jazzet support website. This function is only available in the working papers of your client files once they have been updated with copies containing this feature. A quick recap of what we just learned. We learned that the group cleanup feature is available in the 3 asset working papers, CA, CB, and IA. We learned the main purpose of this feature is to remove excessive blank lines from these working papers, since they can significantly slow down calculations, as well as increase the time taken to update, reload, or save the documents. By using this feature, we can prevent a warning message appearing when updating these working papers from the Resource Center, while they contain blank, unused lines. There are 3 ways this feature can be applied in these working papers. And if the current working papers being used do not include this feature, how it can be added. Caseware should be easy. To find out how, visit us at jazzet.com.